When I was 21 years old, I was working with the General Electric Company, and we did jet engines. I had a co-worker who talked me into going flying with her husband. She knew I had never been up in an airplane before, and there was a low-wing open cockpit, and no parachutes, nothing. Just got in with a loosely strapped belt across my lap, it seemed, and up we went. And before we went up, there was a group of young pilots gathering around watching, and I should have been suspicious, but we were the show of the day because he put me through every aerobatic maneuver that was known. It turns out he was a stunt pilot himself, and he had inverted carburation on the aircraft. And for my first ride, it was intended to scare the hell out of me, and it did. I didn't disappoint anyone. But the other side of the coin is, even though it scared the hell out of me, it piqued my curiosity. There was no way I could not learn to fly from there, and that's how it got started.
Anybody who knows anything about my mom can tell you she has this, I'm gonna use the word willfulness. I think that's a pretty good word. She likes to think out of the box. One of the best ways to get her to do something is to tell her she can't do it or that she shouldn't do it. And I guess that's kind of what maybe motivated her. And I'm guessing, I don't know, I'm not her, but I think that may have motivated her. Back in the 1950s, early 1950s, women didn't typically fly. And I guess it's a testament that my mom is not somebody that you would ever call typical. She worked in an environment where there were a lot of pilots who flew in and out of places like Compton Municipal Airport, which is, I think, where she actually learned to fly. And as such, she had access to people who could help her out, maybe give her flying lessons. And I don't know the whole story, but I think that's how it got started.
Here I am, this girl, quote girl, that girls don't fly that day and age, but I was willing to buy gas for them if they would let a girl fly their airplane, and it worked out beautifully. I had money for gas. They had the expertise to teach me. My main source of learning to fly came in a biplane, 1928 Fleet biplane, and most of my hours were logged in that.
So what's so beautiful about this experience is that 4.5 months ago, Mom broke her hip. She fell and broke her hip, which, as she says, was not on her bucket list. Now, 4.5 months later, her hip is healed, and she decided she's going to go up in a biplane. I never saw this, and that's, part of Mom's just determination that she's going to make things happen.
Several months ago, Mom came to me and said, "Hey, Kathy, I have this idea about what I want to do for my birthday." And she said that she wanted to take a ride in an open cockpit biplane. And so I said in my head, well, that's just insane. And so I'm going to ignore it and hope that it just goes away. And I figured that, if I didn't actually take charge and do it like I tend to do and, run in and save the day and make it happen, that it would just go away. But Mom didn't forget.
I've been talking for the last 5, 6, 7 years, every birthday, that I'm going to go up in a biplane, just as a remembrance to the old days when it was so much fun, and I never do. So this year, having fractured my hip in March, I became bodily aware that sometime soon, when I'm 84 now, I may not be able to climb into a cockpit of an aircraft if I don't do it. So I made up my mind that I was going to do the 84th birthday.
So she goes on the internet looking for some local airplane company, an aviation company, something out of, that works out of a local airport that might take her for a ride in an airplane for her 84th birthday, specifically a biplane, so she could reminisce about the old times when she used to fly. And she ran into some problems.
Out of every one of those, probably 10, 12 numbers I pulled up. Not one of them was connected. I couldn't even get to a live body, disconnected, or never heard of. So I just decided, forget it. The message is clear. I'm not supposed to do this. I just put it aside, and then we had the Mars landing, which should have nothing to do with anything. And I'm listening to all the talk about the technical stuff, and somebody mentioned Mach 1. And it reminded me of flying, and I remembered when Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier, but I couldn't remember how many miles per hour it was, and it made me angry.
What came to her, she was frustrated because she couldn't remember what Mach 1 meant, and if it was the speed of sound or what. So, and of course, that was probably during the middle of the night, and so she got on the internet and decided to look up, Mach 1. And instead of Mach 1, she comes up with Mach 5.
I click on Mach 5. Now, Mach is a German word. It could take me to Stuttgart, Germany or somewhere. But no, it doesn't. It takes me to a little aviation flight school in Auburn, California, which is exactly one of the airfields I had been trying to contact through my previous research with the bad numbers.
So it turns out Mach 5 Aviation is this place. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Roseville, where she lives. It's right up there in Auburn Municipal Airport. Couldn't have been more convenient. So she gets a hold of them on the phone, and they tell her, I don't think we can give you a ride in an airplane, but we know some people who might. And I guess they were talking about that. It was right next door to them, Sunshine Flyers. So they said, here, give us a day or two. We'll call them and we'll talk to them. If they can arrange to give you a ride in an airplane, we'll have them call you.
Oh, here comes the telephone, the call from Mike, who doesn't do it himself, but his friend Don does, and he can set it up for me. And would I like to come out and check the plane and the pilot and the field, and yeah, they would be available for my birthday. I wanted to do it for my 84th birthday, so I sort of mumbled, well, great, and hung up, and it all went on from there.
And she called me several days ago and said, so I've got it all worked out. And I said, what are you talking about, Hazel? What do you have worked out? And she said, well, I have it all worked out so that I can make it up to the Auburn airport. I found a place that'll take me up in a plane. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about there, woman? She says, no, I got it worked out. I got somebody who'll take me. We're going on Sunday at noon. And I said, well, all right then. And if she can make it happen, if she really wants to do it, it'll be absolutely fine. And she did it. Here's this crazy little old 84-year-old lady who, has health issues, just broke her hip several months ago, has beaten all the odds, and she made it happen.
The day of the flight, it all went fine. Got in, and here I am with waiting for me is my Snoopy helmet and goggles, things that I really wanted to have, and we were all set to go, and I still couldn't believe I was doing it. It all came on so fast. And then the engine fired up, and we taxied down to the end of the runway. So then we took off and came back and buzzed the field. I was so into just enjoying. I don't know how to describe it, but we came back, and I would do it over again and again. It's wonderful. I can't say enough good things about Mike, who helped, really put it together, and Dawn, who was the pilot. That was so good, and it was. I'll never forget it. It was a trip of trips.
One of the most touching moments of this whole experience was when we got back to Sunshine Flyers. Michael put in a new entry in her flight logbook, added some new hours, and I'm looking at it and I said, when's the last entry date in there? And he looks in, it said something like July of 1952. Now that is a span of over 60 years.
There's just something about growing old, where you know that you're growing old. Your body is letting you know because it's not doing the things you want it to do, but your head doesn't change, It still wants to do these things, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I really think there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm convinced that's why I had to do it, is because, I'm sorry you broke my hip, but I'm going to do it anyhow. So there. Maybe that's not the right approach, but it's mine, and I'm going to stick with it.